have to try the mouthfeel of the mignonette.
Please don't say mouthful.
Tonight will be madness.
Welcome. We'll endeavor to make your evening as pleasant as possible.
Welcome to Hawthorne.
Here we are family. We harvest, we ferment, we gel.
They gel.
We gel.
He's not just a chef, he's a storyteller. The game is trying to guess what the overarching theme of the entire meal is going to be. You won't know till the end.
Who are you?
I am Margot. Why do you care?
I have to know if you're with us or with them.
Okay, I'm not the kind of guy that would go to a super fancy restaurant, but after seeing this, I'm going, yeah, I'm not spending over $1,000 to eat a cracker. So no. This movie I wanted to see for a while. I finally got a chance to see it. And from the trailers, I was thinking more it's like a horror comedy. And it is in that regard, but it's more of, I would say, a dark comedy than a horror film, which may disappoint some people, but to me, it really didn't. In fact, there are parts of this movie where I forgot that, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a horror movie. But like I said, it's not really a horror movie. It feels more like a thriller at times, but it is labeled like a dark comedy / horror movie. Now, so the main story to this movie is a whole group of people, like I said, 12 people. They go to this restaurant that's on this island. They take a ferry to this island, and it's a super fancy restaurant that it sounds like you can only get invitations to, but throughout the course of the evening, they soon find out oh, there's actually a much sinister deal in the mix. And I'll say this. To me, I've kind of seen a lot of food reviewers as snobbish, or they talk in that eloquent language of oh, this was absolutely tremendous. Oh, the eggs, yes, they were sunny side up. You can make them at home, but it was. And I'm like, dude, shut it, please. But I still think the comedian Sebastian Maniscalco put my thoughts on food reviewers in he put it into just great comedy. So I'm gonna play it.
Writing reviews on restaurants that they go to? You got nothing going on with your life. We don't run home and tattletale on the restaurant. Who's got this time to write an 18-page essay on asparagus? Who's doing this? I don't know. Me and my wife, we go out to dinner. I'll tell her right there, salmon sucked. Let's get the out of here. That's it.
And this movie, these 12 people. Yeah, you have actors, you have business, corporation people, you have the food reviewer, or the person that just is super into food. So it's very much a foodies movie. It's a horror movie for foodies. And because only pretty much if the super rich can afford to go to this restaurant. And Yeah, some of the things, if I was in their shoes and I was sitting at a table and they put down a plate and I'm just like, this is, a piece of bacon on a log. And it's not even a long piece of bacon. It's just like a quarter of bacon and I'm paying like $300 for this. Are you serious? And they do that in this movie. Like, they do a lot of presentation. They establish that chefs can be artists, and they are. But at points, I start going, okay, really, you just give me, dude. I could have eaten like so many double cheeseburgers off the dollar menu. Instead, I get placed a quarter of a strip of bacon on a log. Like, really? Okay, whatever. And I really enjoyed this movie. I think the first thing that I noticed is the cinematography is really well done. And I also liked how this is very much a bottle movie, which means it's mostly all in one location. And this movie pretty much is in one location. It's just this restaurant. And I liked that. So it adds to the tension, and the suspense in the movie is really good. Like I said, this is less of a horror movie and more of a thriller, because there's really no like there's no jump scares, gore. It's very minimum, but the suspense is up, and most of that has to do with Ralph Fiennes, who is amazing in this movie. I think this is probably the best, the best villain he's played since Voldemort, because he's definitely scary, even though he's supposed to be a chef, and cooking is somewhat supposed to be relaxing. And yet, when I see it, I go, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. Think of I was getting kind of similarities, going like, oh, this is kind of like this movie, or it's got the feel of this. I came to the conclusion that it feels like The Hunt, where they're all like, all these strangers are just dropped in this place and they just have to go with the flow. Midsummer, where that's also very much a bottle movie, where they're stuck in one location, they can't leave, they kind of have to go with it, even though what they're seeing can be horrifically frightening. They're just like, we're guests here, we kind of have to go with it. And also Ralph Fiennes, who's the main chef, and his whole his, like, all of his chefs, it feels like a cult. It really does. I mean, they're all on this island together. They all they live on the island. They grow everything on the island. They never go outside. So it feels very like, this is kind of like a cult. Like, okay. And then also kind of like watching Hell's Kitchen a little bit. It's like those two movies, The Hunt and Midsummer, mixed in with like a Hell's Kitchen type. Which really fascinated me when I saw the trailer for it. I'm just like, okay, this looks like, like a not really like battle royale movie, but I'm intrigued, and the acting is really good. From Anya Taylor-Joy to Ralph Fiennes to Nicholas Hoult, all the acting is really good, and this movie's got a pretty good cast, I must say. And this movie is also, because it's labeled as a dark comedy, most of the comedy comes from the dialogue, because this movie is produced by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, who McKay also helped do the script. So I believe there's 3 script writers. So watching the movie, I was definitely going like, okay, that feels very Adam McKay. So there's his humor. But another thing too is that in a horror movie, you kind of want your characters to be as likable as possible, because then when they get hit, it's like, oh, well, that sucks because I really liked that person. But in this case, mostly everyone is unlikable. And like one character from minute 1, I was just like, dude, just shut it. And I'm just like, you're really getting on my nerves. Like, will you please stop that? So it depends on where you stand with horror characters or with movie characters. And I enjoy the movie. I had some flaws with it. Mainly, they brought up things where I'm like, okay, that kind of needs more context, but then they never go back to it. So it's like, okay, what happened with this? So it feels like those little things that they introduced, it could have been left out, and it wouldn't have, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. But because they do it, it's like, like I wish there was a little more context or information, or you just completely left it out of the movie, and I would have been fine. But, overall, I really enjoyed this movie, and it gets great. And yeah, I'm not one of those guys that will pay thousands of dollars to look at, like I said, I'm not paying $1,000 to go look at a quarter piece of bacon on a log, or a piece of cod on a rock. I'm not doing that. I will feel ripped off.
This is what you're paying for.
Get out of my way.
It's all part of the menu.
It's okay.
No, we're gonna die tonight.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
You told him it was my birthday?
Seemed funny about 3 hours ago.